Hey guys, welcome back to Aquaz. In this video I want to take you through a quick fish room tour or hobbyist tour. As I'd say, I only have a few tanks, but we can have a quick look at them and what's involved with them and what we've got stocked and things that are coming up and new additions. Some of the new additions are small, so it wasn't really worth making separate videos for each little change. So why not marry it all into this one video? So let's get it. So the first thing we'll have a look at as we go through the fish room isn't actually the tanks. So this here is more the computer YouTube side of things. So I have my few lights and obviously the computer system. I moved, when I moved the tank, into the back room from the front of the house. I wanted to bring the computer with me as it's nice to sit with the tanks while I'm editing and doing whatever else I like to do on the internet. So that's there. A couple of buckets and just a sump there for future projects down the track if we ever need it. And then over to the first rack is more just photos, memorabilia and just other cameras that I can use if needed. So over here is where I store all my food, prime, aquarium salts, just grinders. Obviously my frozen foods are in the fridge in the kitchen, and there are some meds there if I really need them, but I've been pretty good lately. They're on hand if needed, but so far so good, so all good. So the first tank we're going to have a look at is the African tank. This is the newest tank in the fish room, just recently started up. It's been cycling for a good 3 months, but we've only started stocking this tank over the last month. So we have 4 different types of mbuna in here. You have the electric yellows, the yellow-tailed ACIs, the orange zebras and the blue zebras. And these guys are loving it. They're fitted in really well, and as you can see, since the last video I have added 5 more, which are the zebras. And as soon as I added those fish, this tank really come to life. Adding those extras, everyone else seems to feel a lot more comfortable and happy to cruise around. So this tank is filtered by an Aquest 500 Aqua One canister filter, and we've also got a sponge filter in the corner as well for added filtration. So this tank comes as a kit with the stand, the tank and the lid. It's also come with a stock halogen globe for lighting. It does run 2, but I've only got the single going in there. I didn't want to overpower it too much, and I think these mbuna do the talking when it comes to coloration in the tank. With the sand, I've got some river sand on the bottom and then some specialised African cichlid sand on top to cap it. So with the rocks, I went with zebra rocks. Tried to make caves and fiddle around with it. Every now and then I might change it and add more caves or redesign little bits and pieces here and there if needed. So the next tank along is a 150 litre cube. This one also comes as a kit with the stand and the tank. Also came with the lights, which is just an LED bar, which is carrying the plants reasonably well. This tank is rather cloudy at the moment, as I have been transferring some of my blue stricta over into pots or into the angel tank that you'll see later. So I did stir up the substrate a little bit, so that's still waiting to clear. I probably should film on days after water changes instead of filming them straight after, but anyway. This tank here purely runs on a single sponge at the back that you see in the corner on the right, and it's got a bubbler bar at the back to just keep water movement going. The plants do pretty much all the heavy hitting in this tank. So this tank obviously is fully planted. For substrate I went with Oliver Knott's Aqua Lava. I took a punt on that when I first set up this tank to see how it went, and these plants are just thriving. So I went with the only piece of real man-made decor in here was the T-Rex head but I think it, with the plants and as they're grown in, it's actually really makes this tank stand out. There's a couple of bits of driftwood in there that you may see. There's a lot of plants and growth hiding them now. Plant wise, I went with Java Fern, growing pretty much over the T-Rex head. We've got some Tilantha in there just to add a little bit more red to the scape. I've also got Blue Stricta, as I mentioned before. That is absolutely going bananas in here. It's super handy because I'm at a point now where I can just transfer plants between tanks and I'm not having to buy too much. But you will notice there'll be a common theme going through these tanks, especially the ones with plants in them, that you'll see a lot of the same plants as I just chop and change, and when they start getting too dense, I'll transfer them into other tanks. So the other plant in here I have is Dwarf Gold Rush. It's not going completely bananas, but it's going okay, and starting to see other pieces pop up here and there. So that's showing good signs, and I'm pretty happy. So this tank here is the one that I've had the longest since we've been in this house. This one has been around for about 3 years now. It runs on a single hang on the back and just a little 100 watt heater. It's a 60 litre tank. There's a couple of lava rocks in there, and we have obviously the ship split into two with the Java Fern growing on one, and just the blue aquarium gravel. There's a little bit of algae growing on the glass, but I'm not too stressed about that. And it also looks like we're starting to get blackbeard algae. We'll have a fair bit actually, blackbeard algae on the Java Fern, but I'm not too stressed about that either. It's just sort of, the fish aren't too bothered, so happy with that. Stocking wise in this tank, I have the Rosy Barbs, 4 of, and then I have the Glow Light Tetra School. Those guys seem to be doing really well. And also have Coolie Loaches in here, 3 of, but I'm not even going to attempt to get them out and about. I don't want to disturb the tank too much. It's going to, if there's a little bit of detritus on the bottom, it's going to stir up and make Viz hard as well. And we've already had one of those tanks, so we won't go there. The next one on the list is the 40 litre White Cloud tank. This is the second White Cloud tank I have. This one here is where a lot of the 150 White Clouds originated from. They just started going helter-belter with breeding, and as you can see, we have different sizes in here. They're still going, and I've just been transferring over to the 150. There is a chance that I may actually just take all of these guys out and put them all into the 150, freeing this tank up for another lot of fish that you'll see in a second. This tank also has been overrun with Umbulia. I've just taken bulk of it out. It's pretty much carpeted the whole top of the tank, and the light was struggling down to get to the bottom, as you can see with the hair grass. I haven't had much luck with that. It's started to go a little bit, and you can see little bits and pieces taken off, but not having the light there that it needed, it's really struggled. So I've taken out a lot of the Umbulia and just left that little bit there, as the White Clouds love to drop their eggs on it. And then I did have a massive piece of Val as well that I've split up and replanted in each corner. I'll keep an eye on that. It's just going crazy. So this tank here is still in a state of repair. I've tidied it up a little bit more work to do. And almost a blank canvas again to start thinking of new plants and ideas to keep this one going. So I won't spend too much time on this one. This was in a pretty recent video that I've just done. But these are my golden White Clouds. Picked these guys up not long ago. So I've just set up one of the little 16 litre Magitariums as a quarantine tank. And yes, we've got a bright purple fake plant in there as well. But it's given these guys somewhere just to sort of cruise around and hide until I can transfer them. So the next tank on the list is right next door to the White Cloud quarantine tank. This is another heated quarantine tank. Very similar setup. It's just got a little bit of lava rock in there, some white speckly gravel substrate. Same light runs across both tanks. The idea behind this one, oh sorry, and just runs on a sponge filter. The idea behind this one, I'm hoping that I can use this if my angels successfully have eggs, or I can transfer the eggs into this tank before the angels get to them. So the next one on the list is the angel breeding tank. This tank gets chopped and changed around all the time. Trying to kick these guys into gear, giving them other things to lay their eggs on. As you can see, I've got the large terracotta pot there. The piece of Anubias tied or grown to the driftwood at the front there. A little bit of lava rock. And then the two smaller pots that I've transferred the blue stricture and put that into here as it's sort of taken over. So I'll see how it goes. It's a couple of degrees warmer in here than it is in the white cloud tank. So we'll see how that blue stricture goes, but hey, I'm starting to get overrun with it, so why not try something. So this tank here is filtered by sponge filters, two of there. It's got a 200 watt heater and an Imaginarium light keeping it going. This tank's an Aqua One, just a standard Aqua One 3-foot tank. And the next tank on the list is the show tank in the main lounge room of the house. This is the 6-foot display tank. I need a wider lens to try and get this one into shot, so I'll show you sort of, there's the overview of the whole tank, and we'll go in and have a look at the fish soon. The way of plants, this one is pretty much Java Fern and blue stricture again. That's pretty much all that's in this tank. The center of this tank has aqua soil on the bottom, and then it was topped with sand. As you can see, some of the aqua soil has come through over time as I'm doing gravel vacs, so it will need redoing soon enough, but the Java Fern there is loving it and taking off. This aquarium's heated by two 300 watt heaters, and it's filtered by two canister filters, both Sunsuns, a Sunsun 303B and 304B I believe. And then over with the dive helmet is the only man-made thing that's in this tank, purely for my black ghost knife who's in there. That's pretty much, he's claimed that as his home, and I don't have the heart to take it off him anymore and make him a new one. He sort of loves it, so it's one thing that's, I think, just gonna stay, I guess. So we'll go up into stocking, why I can catch them. There's a couple of my Bosemani Rainbows. These guys are doing really well. Starting to colour up really nicely, and they do really love a water change, especially after a water change. They love it. We'll go over to my Congo Tetras. I only have a couple of Congo Tetras in here, but these guys have been with me for nearly 3 years as well. I ended up just chucking these two guys in here to give them the room that they needed, and they've really fit in. There's only two of them, but they really sort of get along with each other. Then we'll move over to my two angels. Originally I had the 4 angels together, but as you can tell, my breeding pair paired off, and these two started to get really picked on. So I've transferred these guys over into the 6-foot, and they've thanked me ever since, really. Both coloured up really well, and he has just come along leaps and bounds. And then I just have the discus in this tank, 4 of, we can see 3 in shot, and I'll see if we can get any look at Barry. And the newest addition to the fish room is the new rack. So I've got the, I don't actually know the exact literage of this tank. It's about between 80 and 100 litres. Obviously there's still stuff all jammed in these. There's nothing really been done to them. I've just turned the lights on just to sort of, so you get an idea. But super happy to have the rack there. So now I can actually take them off the floor and just sit them there for projects coming up. And then we have the two little 47 litre tanks. One's an Imaginarium, one's an Aqua One. Very, very similar on that second shelf. And then up to the shelf that we looked at with all the fish food. And then up the top, just a little bit of storage. And there's a small little 5 litre tank there. So there you go, guys. A hobbyist fish room from May 2021. that's how it sits at this stage. As you can see, there's a lot of blank canvases coming up that we can work with, but super stoked. If you like what I'm doing, hit that sub button, give it the thumbs up, drop a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.